Most people are still looking for secret formulas in new finance books, TikTok gurus, or get-rich-quick hacks. But the greatest wealth ever built in modern history didn't start with any of that. It started with a Bible, John D. Rockefeller. Yes, the man whose name is still whispered when we talk about fortune didn't grow up with money. He didn't stumble into success. He built it, and at the core of that empire was Scripture. He once said, "The Bible is not only the greatest book ever written, it's the best handbook for business." You see, what the world calls success principles, he saw as divine instruction. Long before Think and Grow Rich, before Napoleon Hill spent decades studying the world's richest men, Rockefeller was already living out the truths Hill would one day discover. Truths that came from Proverbs, from Corinthians, from the ancient wisdom that says, "As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he." Rockefeller believed that wealth wasn't an accident. It was a result of mindset, stewardship, discipline, and generosity. Not greed, not shortcuts, not luck. This video isn't about religion, it's about reality. Because whether or not you believe in God, you can't ignore the results of those who did. Today, I'll show you the exact principles from the Bible that shaped Rockefeller's fortune and how you can apply them, starting right now. Before Napoleon Hill wrote Think and Grow Rich, he spent over 20 years analyzing the most successful people on earth: Carnegie, Ford, Edison, and yes, Rockefeller. What Hill discovered shocked him. Every single wealthy individual he studied had a belief system, a mental blueprint. And whether they knew it or not, much of that blueprint matched principles straight from the Bible. He found that faith wasn't just a spiritual concept, it was a practical tool. Rockefeller understood that decades before Hill ever put it into words. While the world focused on strategies and tactics, Rockefeller focused on identity. He believed that wealth doesn't start in your wallet, it starts in your heart. That's exactly what Proverbs teaches. Guard your heart above all else, for it determines the course of your life. When you believe money is evil, you'll subconsciously push it away. When you think rich people are bad, you'll sabotage any chance of becoming one. When you say things like, "That's too expensive," or "People like me don't get rich," you're training your subconscious to stay broke. Rockefeller trained his mind the opposite way, not with arrogance, but with assurance. He saw money as a tool, not a trophy, a way to serve, to grow, to multiply good. Napoleon Hill said it simply, "Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve." But Rockefeller lived it before it became a quote, and now you can too. There's a verse in the Bible that almost perfectly explains how Rockefeller thought, and it's one most people ignore. As a man thinketh in his heart, so is he. Proverbs 23:7. Rockefeller didn't just believe in this verse, he embodied it. He understood that thought creates reality, that identity shapes destiny, and that wealth starts in the mind. Most people try to change their life by changing their circumstances, but Rockefeller? He started with the root, not the fruit. While others said, "I'll be generous when I'm rich," Rockefeller tithed faithfully when he was earning pennies. While others said, "This is too hard," he asked, "What can I learn from this?" While others said, "I'll never make it," he thought, "It's already mine. I just have to grow into it." That mindset didn't just make him rich. It made him resilient. It made him disciplined. It made him dangerous. In the best way possible. He aligned his thoughts with divine truth, not temporary emotion. He believed that prosperity was not just possible, it was part of his assignment, and he didn't keep that prosperity to himself. Rockefeller gave away over $500 million in his lifetime. Not because he had to, but because he wanted to. Because he believed wealth should serve a mission. The Bible doesn't say money is evil. It says the love of money is the problem. Rockefeller didn't love money, he mastered it. And the tool he used was Scripture. Decades later, Napoleon Hill would echo the exact same principle in his legendary book, Think and Grow Rich. But here's the twist. Hill didn't invent this wisdom. He discovered it by studying men like Rockefeller. Hill spent 25 years interviewing over 500 of the wealthiest people in history, from Andrew Carnegie to Henry Ford. And what did he find? That they all, consciously or unconsciously, followed biblical principles. Even if they weren't religious, even if they never opened a Bible, they lived the truths found inside it. Hill's most famous idea is simple. Whatever the mind can conceive and believe, it can achieve. Sound familiar? It's Proverbs 23:7 all over again. He talked about faith, persistence, definiteness of purpose, and auto-suggestion. These weren't positive thinking tricks. They were spiritual principles in disguise, the same truths Rockefeller had embodied years before. The idea that your thoughts create your life, that what you believe deep down becomes your reality, that you are not limited by your environment, but by your imagination. Hill's conclusion? That wealth was not about luck or inheritance or even intelligence. It was about mastering the inner game, just like the Bible said, just like Rockefeller did. So when people ask, what's the secret to financial success? The answer might not be in a crypto course. It might not be in the latest YouTube trend. It might just be sitting in a book that's been on your shelf since childhood, waiting to be opened. Because as Hill revealed and Rockefeller proved, wealth is first spiritual, and only then financial. John D. Rockefeller was not just a businessman. He was a man of deep faith. Every morning before meetings or markets, he opened the Bible. Not for ritual, for guidance. He believed that wealth was a responsibility, not a privilege. That money without morality was a curse, and that true prosperity must be tied to purpose. Here's what most people don't know. Rockefeller once said, "God gave me money. I believe the power to make money is a gift from God, and to be developed and used for the good of mankind." That doesn't sound like your average Wall Street tycoon, does it? He saw money as stewardship. His tithes, often over 10% of his entire income, went to churches, hospitals, schools, and mission work. He funded education for Black Americans, built public health systems, and supported research that eradicated deadly diseases. But more importantly, he never worshipped money. In his journals, he constantly reminded himself, riches without character are fleeting. Success without God is failure. This is what modern influencers miss. They chase Lambos and likes. Rockefeller chased legacy. He didn't want to be the richest man in the world. He wanted to be the most useful. And that mindset? That came straight from Scripture. Proverbs 11:25 says, "A generous person will prosper. Whoever refreshes others will be refreshed." Rockefeller built that into the DNA of his empire. It's why his name still carries power 100 years later, because he didn't just build wealth. He built principles into his wealth. So if you want to know why the Bible worked for him, it's not because he read it, it's because he lived it. Here's the truth. No one tells you. You were not created for survival mode. You were created for dominion. The Bible doesn't just speak about heaven, it gives blueprints for life, for purpose, for abundance, for impact. But to receive it, you must rewire your mind. Stop saying, "I'm not good with money." Start saying, "I'm learning to steward wealth." Stop asking, "Why is life so hard?" Start asking, "What is this season teaching me?" Romans 12:2 says, "Be transformed by the renewing of your mind." That's not a metaphor, that's a method, because your life will never grow beyond your mindset. Rockefeller didn't grow up rich, he was born into struggle. But he trained his thoughts like a soldier. He believed he was responsible for his future. Not the government, not luck, not other people. And because of that, he built a legacy that changed the world. So I'll ask you now, what if you started seeing money as a tool of purpose, What if you stopped believing that spirituality and prosperity are enemies? What if you decided today to be the first Rockefeller of your family? This isn't about religion. This is about alignment, with wisdom, with truth, with power. Your destiny isn't delayed. It's waiting on your decision. The same truths that shaped Rockefeller's empire are sitting in the same book that's been on your shelf this whole time. And now that you know, you're responsible for what you do next.